This is Join the Dots. So this is day 6 of COP26, 6th of November 2021. There was a demonstration today in Glasgow and in several cities and towns across the world. It's Global Day for Climate Justice. So Paul and I went on to the march. It was dreich, as the Scots call it. A wet rain, grey, like walking through the clouds themselves. But then it did calm down and then it rained again. But it was very crowded. In fact, we went to the end of the march, or when we finished the march, and we walked back across the route. An hour later, people were still walking. During the march and in the Glasgow Green, where it ended, I had the chance to interview a few people. A few of them were like us, attending COP itself, as well as going on the street. So I asked them why, both. Some of them were not in the COP. They wanted to be, but they weren't accredited. They couldn't go in. Please listen to the very end. At the very end, I was lucky to be able to talk to a 75-year-old woman who came from Oaxaca in Mexico. She spoke in her language. It was translated to Spanish and from Spanish to English. She ends this update. Tomorrow is a rest day at COP, and I will also have a rest. But I'll be back on Monday, the 8th, from day 8 of the COP.
My name is Lisa. I am from Germany, and I'm here marching at the climate strike in Glasgow. Because I deeply care about climate justice. It is not only an environmental issue, even though that is also already reason to be here, but it is also a matter of justice. There are lots of people in the global south that are already affected by climate change impacts today that they have not contributed to. I work in the climate sphere, let's say, so I know the numbers, I know how bad it is and how urgently we finally need to get our act together and implement policies that reduce emissions now and not just rely on pledges to reach climate neutrality by 2040 or 2050.
Thank you. So that's why we're both in the COP and on the streets.
Yes, exactly. It's important to be in, let's say, dialogue with policymakers and yet also keep the pressure on the streets up.
Thank you. We're based in Glasgow. Yeah, Glasgow School of Arts.
Yeah. So
where are you on the march?
We
need to keep walking.
We need to keep walking. We kind of wanted to sort of look at the more visual aspects of the sort of climate crisis. As artists, we are the sign makers, we're the banner makers, we're the people who signpost to the issues, and that creates the conversation. So we wanted to start the conversation as we mean to go on.
In peace.
In peace. And love.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm from Mexico. I am in the COP because I'm representing different indigenous peoples from around Mexico mainly, in order to redignify their ways of life as a mean to protect biodiversity and change the systems. I think being inside and outside the negotiation rooms is crucial, because otherwise there's a constant disconnection between what's really happening out there, like in the front lines and the consequences, and the negotiations. Otherwise I think it's only empty talk inside the negotiation rooms that keeps constantly being not representing the voices of the people, and still just political agendas being nice and and pretending to care when I think if they really care, they have to be on the street, going to the territories and understanding what's the real consequence of their actions. I think that's the only way forward, changing system, and that changing system has to come from the bottom up, but also from the top down. Otherwise, we'll endlessly be disconnected in our discourses.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Is a nearly
That's against
to government. Is a nearly 900 people is dead in this protest, and no any media for covering this one. And now is already is too much media here, and
You want to bring them to pay attention.
Yes.
So farmers were protesting against the Indian government.
Yes.
Why were they protesting?
because they make a 3 law against farmers.
What
so
kind?
they kind of like MSP and some other is a storage, or they give to all things private.
Uh-huh.
So people, but all farmers like suffering.
They can't get enough money
No.
for their food.
No.
Nearly 900 people is dead in this protest. In nearly now is 1 year, up to 1 year, but no any solution.
No
There's a
one
Modi coming here. I don't know. You sort of do a problem on problem.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
coming here. I don't know why 900 on people is dead, but coming here is solve world level problem. You sort your home problems with husband.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Sophie Grigg. I'm a senior campaigner for Survival International, and so we're extremely concerned about the plan, the 30 by 30 plan, which is a plan to turn 30% of the earth and sea into protected areas. And so we know from experience that Indigenous peoples' rights are violated in protected areas. Evictions, killings, murder, rapes are absolutely endemic and part of the system of protected areas. And at the moment, about 15% of the planet is protected areas, so this 30 by 30 plan is going to double the number of protected areas. That's double the misery, double the land theft, double the abuses. And so we're campaigning against that. It's being dressed up as a plan as part of a nature-based solution and it's part of a massive attempt by the conservation organisations to get more money for their own protected areas and campaigns, and at the risk of the rights of Indigenous peoples.
What do you suggest instead?
So absolutely, the study after study shows that Indigenous peoples are the best guardians of the earth. They are, if you look at studies that show comparing protected areas run by governments or by NGOs with the land legally recognised by Indigenous peoples, the Indigenous peoples do a far better job. There's lower deforestation, there's lower forest fires, there's better biodiversity. So actually recognising the rights of Indigenous peoples, that's the solution, not giving more money to conservation organisations or to increase the number of protected areas, because that just leads to more human rights violations, and it isn't saving the climate crisis or the biodiversity crisis.
Thank you. It also makes me wonder what happens to the 70% of the land if it's protected 30%.
Yeah, well, that's the other
I think
thing.
we've done our job.
I mean, that's like the whole notion, isn't it, of offsets and things. It's like, well, you just allocate a certain place, which means everywhere else gets a green light to destroy and pollute.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria. I'm from Peru. I'm representing the indigenous communities called Minga. We are over 145 people that came from different places from South America. The reason why we're here and part of the COP26 is to raise awareness about how we can protect the Amazon and our rights, and then how we can help the communities to protect our planet. So thank you for listening.
Natalia Cruz Bautista Batiños Snovico Jabatiña Takani Nishikakwe Tata Sachu Nyoyo Weyuku.
Stand back a little bit from them, yeah?
Yeah.
Mi nombre es Natalia Cruz Bautista y vengo de San Juan Mixtepet, Ñosabi. Vengo a contarles sobre la medicina natural que uso para curar a la gente.
So, my name is Natalia. I come from Mexico, from Oaxaca, and I've come to show about using natural herbs to heal people. Yeah.
And you said she is 75?
Yes, she's 75. Yes.
And has she met anyone in the COP, or has she been out?
No, entraste al dentro?
No.
No, they didn't get any invites to come. We're part of Minga Indígena, which is a group of people, and they were given a few passes to go in as observers. All they did was were able to go in and give a letter. Apart from that, I've been trying really hard to get their voices on the inside as well. It hasn't happened. Same old story. The elders and the indigenous people have been kept out.
What would they say if they went in?
Si puedes entrar, ¿qué quieres decir?
No entramos porque no estamos acreditadas para entrar, nos dijeron.
Yeah, they can't go in because they're not accredited. Sí, pero ellos preguntaron, si puedes entrar, ¿qué quieres decir?
Si pudiera entrar. Ajá. Pues hablar de cómo convivimos o cómo conservamos todo lo de la naturaleza y cómo nos organizamos los pueblos indígenas para vivir en un bien común entre todos, que trabajamos siempre, pensamos en colectividad.
So what they'd like to say is, how we actually live, how we take collective decisions, and the way that the indigenous people live. Really, it's so very different. And there's, I was then going into my own interpretation, but that's really, is their message. It's like we can learn so much from them about their way of life, how they live in community, and they make decisions together. That doesn't happen here at all. So, but, to get their voices heard, just sadly, that's not how it is.
I hope we can do a little bit in our little way.
Na koto vai chikui masaya kuira na koto vai nya kwe disa kwe yukuka no nyonyeyo masanyui ariña kutata.
El mensaje que mandaría yo a todos los líderes es que cuiden el agua porque es vida y que cuiden la madre tierra porque nos da la medicina para vivir.
The message that she would give to the leaders is that you need to look after the water because that's what gives us life, and you need to look after the Mother Earth because that's what gives us our medicine.
Thank you for listening, and we'd love to hear from you on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.